ACKMON. I work with the Houston Police Department, Special Victims Division, Crimes Against Children's Unit. I am the lead detective on the case where the 12-month-old boy was found at the apartment complex. I'm just going to give you all a recap, but first I want to thank you all. I want to thank the media, the public, and HPD's Missing Persons for helping me out with my investigation. So just to recap, on Tuesday around 12:40, HPD Patrol received a call in regards to a child that was possibly abandoned. HPD made the scene. Also, HFD made the scene as well. The child was found by an employee and resident of the apartment complex. Once HPD made the scene, they attempted to make contact with the parents of the child. They had no luck, and at that point, they contacted Special Victims, and I was assigned the case. Yesterday, I went out, I spoke with neighbors, I spoke with employees of the complex, and tried to gather as much information as I could to identify the child. You all put the child's information and photo out on the news, and then around 5 o'clock yesterday, I received a call from a family member informing me that the child on the news was their nephew. She gave me the full information on the child. She told me how she was related to the child. She also gave me the child's mom name. At this time, I have not been in contact with mom. I followed up with CPS. The child is currently in CPS custody. After speaking with CPS, I found that they have made contact with the child's father. So I've been in contact with the child's father. Right now, I'm still in the early stages of my investigation. I'm still looking for mom. I'm not going to release any information regarding the child or the parents at this time.
Do you know why the child was left there?
No, I don't. I don't know. At this time, I do not know.
Do you know the condition of the apartment that the child was found in? Was the apartment abandoned? Was it?
So he was not found in a particular apartment. He was found in an open area of the apartment complex.
Like a playground or something like that?
No, just like the common area in between like the apartment buildings.
How was he found, and was he okay?
Yes, so he was found, like I said, by an employee and a resident of the apartment complex. He had minor injuries. He was transported to the hospital, and everything came out, fine. And then he was released into CPS custody.
Were the injuries related to heat, or?
From my knowledge, no.
Okay. Can you kind of elaborate a little more on the injuries?
I cannot.
Okay.
I think we can speak to just one piece. So Sergeant Swope, Houston Police Department. As far as the injuries of the child, Sergeant Swope with the Houston Police Department, Crimes Against Children. We can speak a little bit to the injuries at this time. We don't have any evidence that the injuries are inflicted on the child. These are injuries that just came with the child being alone. And the child is 12-month-old and mobile, so just the kind of injuries you would assume could occur with a child by itself just trying to navigate around the apartment complex.
But the injuries were severe, or they were lightly, or how?
They're minor.
They're minor, not severe.
A neighbor described the child being found in like a carrier with a blanket over him. Does that sound about right?
No.
No? Okay.
Was the baby full clothes, or just diapers, or how did it work?
So he just had on a diaper. That's it. Only a diaper.
Is there any, I guess, are you looking at any possible charges at this point?
So like I said, I'm still in the early stages of my investigation. At a later date, I expect charges, but at this time, I do not know what type of charges.
You said you talked to the father, and you can't tell us what you guys talked about, but how was he in terms of temperament? Was he receptive to your question?
Yes, he was receptive. He stated that he wanted the child. Also, the family member who contacted me stated that they wanted the child.
And so, just to be clear, the mother and the father weren't together, and the child was in complete custody of the mother?
So at this time, I do not know who had complete custody of the child, but no, the mom and dad were not together.
Has CPS been called to this apartment before?
Not to my knowledge.
Did the mother live in that apartment?
No, so mom and dad are not residents of that apartment complex.
Again, I was gonna ask you, do you know the purpose of him being there or why the
I do
child-
not know.
It's a fire station nearby. What did you say about that? About, the kid left
Do you want me to
in a
speak to
common
that?
area. So what would be your advice for other people that trying to do the same thing?
So, Sergeant Swope, again, Houston Police Department, just to speak to that part, I think we can clarify a couple of quick things that aren't necessarily sensitive to this investigation. This child was found alone in an apartment complex where they are not residents, so a lot of the investigation is trying to determine how did the baby get there, who brought the baby there, and why is nobody with the child. Now, this child is closer to 12 months, he's about to turn a year old. The baby Moses laws with the fire stations is under 60 days. So just to clarify that, if someone's going to give up their child, to give up custody, if your child's older, you need to call CPS and talk about it. But if you're doing the baby Moses law at a fire station, that child needs to be less than 2 months. This is not within that window. We do not believe that that was the intent of surrendering a child. I think this is more an open investigation to find out why the child was abandoned.
How far did the child likely go from maybe where it was supposed to be?
So the child was found with some items that go along with the child. The child was not that far from those original items. We're still trying to lock down exactly what our timeline would be for how long that child was there. The child was not far from those items. So without getting into the sensitive nature of the things that we are still trying to determine, it's not that this child crawled into a complex by himself. The child was obviously brought there. We just don't know when, why, and why no one's around and claimed the child for 24 hours after the fact.
And just to clarify, there's still no contact with the mother?
Correct.
Correct. The mother is identified, the mother is not located. So that's what we are still working on.
If the mother sees these news stories tonight, would you guys want to tell her anything?
Well, we would absolutely like her to come forward and speak to us about what happened with her child, state her case, help us to understand how your child ended up here. There's a lot of circumstances that can happen to anyone. We just don't know what those circumstances are for her. So at this time, it's about getting the child safe, which we've done. It's about identifying the child, and thanks to the media's help, that's been great. Now it's just a matter of getting to her to find out what happened. So why is she not with her baby?
You have an age of the mother?
A what?
Approximate, can you give us an age range?
She's between 30 and 40.
How was the baby doing? I know he had some minor injuries.
Yeah, so he's fine. Like I said, he's been released from the hospital and is in CPS custody.
I guess, could you kind of give us an idea of how these child abandonment cases typically go in a broader sense? Like, what is like your sense in how these investigations are?
So, typically, this is one of my first abandonment cases. I'm just gonna be honest. So, I really can't speak on how they normally go, but so far, like what I know and through my investigation, he was definitely left there, and that's where we get the abandonment from. Like I said, like my sergeant said, it was 24 hours, and mom or dad hadn't made contact with us, special victims, missing persons, anyone.
What will be the charges for abandoning a baby or a kid?
So for child abandonment, second degree felony for child abandonment. Child abandonment has to do with, we have to prove criminal intent that you didn't dump, you left your child behind with no intent to return to your child. That's the part we have to sort out in any child abandonment case. Not saying that's what we're necessarily doing here, but we need to understand the circumstances that led to this child being alone. So if we were gonna file child abandonment, we'd be looking at a felony charge, but that requires a lot more investigation, because there's a lot of defenses to what could have happened to her. We don't know what happened to her. We have not found her yet. So we are still looking for her. And like she said, the father was not part of this situation. So even though we have located the father, it's not part of this child being left alone. He did not know the child was here left alone, as far as we can tell. So we're focused on the mom just because we need to know her story. So really, we just need to talk to her to be able to figure this out.
Do the custody will pass to the father?
That is all in the wheelhouse of CPS. Department of Family and Protective Services will have to vet everybody in the case and figure out who they're going to place with. I just want to speak on behalf of them because they have different protocols and reasons for how they place children.
Is there any indication that the mother is in any particular danger, if you will?
So we don't have enough information to even decide that. We don't know her primary residence at this point. We don't know what her lifestyle or life is at this point. We just know who she is, and that's really as far as we are.
Do you think, did she leave the child, or is it possible someone else brought the child there?
There can be many possibilities.
There
It's
could
still
be
an
many
ongoing
possibilities.
investigation. And that's what we're saying. We don't want to say that we're trying to file a charge on the mom because we don't even know. We don't know who was with the baby at this point. We just know that mom should have had custody of her child, and mom also has not reported that her child is missing, and no one tried to claim that child. This is the unusual aspect to this case. Most of the time when we have a child, someone's claiming it. Someone's reporting the child missing. So it's kind of odd for us to have a baby and no one knew who the child belonged to or the identity until this point.
Can I get your name? I know you had said it. Do you mind spelling your name?
Sure. This is Sergeant Swope. That's SWOPE with Special Victims Division, Crimes Against Children for HPD.
How lucky is the child to be alive? Because, Houston, we have the heat, and then some animal or something can be attacking.
Well, we have an unseasonable heat, and we have we deal with a lot of cases at the CAC. We deal with thousands of abuse and sexual assault cases, and leaving a child unattended, a child that can't fend for themselves, that's hugely dangerous in a metropolitan city like Houston. So, but especially with the unseasonable heat, animals, people have vicious dogs, who knows? I mean, an infant shouldn't be alone.
Has the mother been reported missing?
No.
No, ma'am. No, sir.
And you all check like area jails, even like around Houston?
Correct.
Absolutely.
Any other questions?
I guess one more. Do you plan on releasing the mother's name and picture to get it out there that, maybe the media can help locate her?
At this time, no.
And the reason for that is we don't want to invade her privacy at this moment just because we don't know what the situation is with her. Yes, we have the child. Yes, we have the concern that she's not here, but we have no circumstances to indicate that she's in danger. So until we know what's going on with her, we don't want to release that kind of information. Okay, let's take pause.
Any other questions? Okay. Detective Gonzalez.
Thank you.
Okay.
Can you
So.
do me a favor? Can you guys, each side, one on each side, there you go, that we can, there you go, thank you, guys, appreciate it.
So, en este momento yo voy a hablar en español todo lo que ella estaba diciendo sobre de este caso. Soy detective González con el Departamento de Houston Policías, las víctimas especiales. So, sobre de este caso, martes, 5 de julio, la patrulla del Departamento de Houston Policía recibí esta información que un niño que tenía 12 meses estaba solito. En ese momento los oficiales estaban encontrando más información sobre de este niño, a dónde estaban los padres o una persona que la niño estaba con quien la niño estaba con quien en este apartamento. Los oficiales no encontraron nadie y en este momento la división de las especiales víctimas, oficial Blackman tenía este caso. Ella es la primera investigadora. Y después de esto, ella hablé con las personas perdidas y también las noticias. Muchísimas gracias con las personas perdidas y también las noticias, porque después de este pone una foto de la niño que encontré, y después de eso la familia de este niño hablé con ella y le dio información para identificar la niño, y después ahorita la niño está en custodio de CPS.
¿En qué estado está el pequeño? ¿Tiene algunas heridas? ¿Le está bien de salud?
Todavía el niño está bien, nomás tenía marcas mayor, pero no tenía nada más de eso. Está bien. Fue por la hospital, pero ya está bien ahorita.
¿Qué tal de su mamá? ¿Todavía está bajo la custodia de su mamá y está comunicado con ustedes, con la policía?
Todavía no encontré la mamá y no hablé con la mamá ahorita. Con nosotros quiero hablar con la mamá, que quiero saber, qué pasó, que ella está bien, cómo pasó que la niño estaba solito.
Ustedes decían que recibieron la llamada de familiares. ¿Familiares de quién? ¿De parte de la mamá o de parte del papá? ¿Quiénes fueron que se comunicaron con ustedes?
Fue de la mamá.
¿Y ellos no les han dicho dónde está la
Todavía no. Este caso todavía está activo. Ujú.
¿Qué es lo que pudiera pasar ahora que este pequeño fue encontrado solo? ¿Qué cargos pudiera enfrentar la mamá?
Podemos hablar con los fiscales y los cargos más o menos van a ser, pues, la niña estaba abandoned. So, con esto también, con child endangerment, pero con este caso está activo, nosotros no sabe qué pasó con la mamá, cómo la niña estaba solito como así.
Anything else?
I guess, is it unusual for this mother to not be responding to calls and family members and stuff?
I would say yes. I mean, the baby, it was 24 hours before, we put it out to the media, and still there was no contact from the mom. And 48 hours later, still no contact from the mom.
And that's unusual?
That's unusual, correct.
What's the window of opportunity?
I would say within an hour, 2 hours, if you're missing your child, your infant child, that you would be calling the police, calling around, going to police stations, fire stations, wherever, to try to find your child.
Did they have any connection to this apartment complex?
Not that I know of.
All right, folks, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank
Thank you
you.
guys very much.
Good job, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I just have you spell your name?
Sure, sorry, it's a weird one.
Can you put your first letter? R.
Thank you, sir.